All right, and we are live. So welcome back to Dapp University. So today we got a lot to talk about in our live stream. We're going to talk about what everybody's fighting about inside the Web 3.0 space today. There's actually lots of things. We're going to go through them. This all just kind of blew up yesterday. So we're going to talk about this, what you need to understand. We're going to look at a lot of the news updates that have happened in this space since yesterday. Some updates on the Ethereum 2.0 timeline. Okay, we're going to check on the crypto markets, answer some of your questions in the live chat here, and a whole lot more. So if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory, and on this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to learn how to master blockchain step by step, start to finish, then head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp to get started today. All right, so we got people jumping in the chat here. We got Culture Hives. We got Nasty Nate's Crypto Corner. Let's see, Robert, Alden, Shay, Above Realty. Let's see, Lee, Automatic Beats. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, so let's jump into this. Let's talk about what everybody's fighting about today inside Web 3.0. So you've been on crypto, Twitter, or any of that type of stuff. Everybody's just kind of up in arms about a couple different topics, and I want to weigh in on those, okay? So the first thing is definitely, related to Web 3.0, but it's actually, beyond that. And lots of different people are just like absolutely blowing up about this. And that's, let me see if I can actually pull it up here. Hold on. Sorry, I lost the article on my screen here. We'll see. I hope I don't get paywalled here. All right, so the first big thing that everybody's fighting about is Elon Musk, all right, makes $43 billion unsolicited bid to buy Twitter. Okay, so we've been talking about Elon and Twitter over the past couple weeks. We've seen basically, Elon talking about buying a significant amount of Twitter in terms of its shares. Talked about Elon potentially joining the board of Twitter, and they kind of backpedaled on that one. Saw a poll from Elon on his Twitter talking about should the Twitter algorithm be open sourced, and there's a lot of speculation around could Elon actually have some sort of influence on Twitter becoming a more Web 3.0 product. And there's been lots of speculation that Twitter's a prime candidate to pivot into the Web 3.0 space with the massive user base that it has. And of course, there would be some barriers to entry there with the current structure of Twitter. And one potential answer to that is somebody like Elon taking over and moving in that direction. Now, here's what everybody's fighting about is, hey, like that's not going to happen. Like if you have something that's privately controlled, there's no incentives to decentralize this thing to actually turn it into something Web 3.0. And there's lots of people thinking that, hey, this is just another stunt from Elon. He's got no intention of actually doing this, and that it's going to have some sort of like second and third order effects. That's actually the real intent here. You know what I mean? That's not exactly what it looks like on the surface. So let's kind of go through some of those one by one here. So I actually want to pull up a tweet here from I want to pull up a tweet from Mark Cuban that just came out in response to this. So basically, every major tech company, Google, Facebook, is on the phone with their antitrust lawyers asking if they can buy Twitter and get it approved. Okay. And Twitter's on the phone with their lawyers asking which can be their white knight. It's going to be interesting. So basically, Elon may have started this, but his threat to sell his shares if Twitter says no opened the door for those tech giants to walk in for relatively little money and grab huge influence at Twitter or possibly a direct path to acquisition. So Elon will smile all the way to the bank. So yeah, that's a pretty interesting take from Mark Cuban there. So another kind of perspective on this that people are fighting about, say, hey, this is not going to lead to anything Web 3.0 related, which I'm not necessarily saying. I'm just looking at some different perspectives here. Are this? Let's just see here. Hold on. So we see it's like some takes from like Fred Wilson here. Talking about Twitter is too important to be owned and controlled by a single person. The opposite should be happening. Twitter should be decentralized as a protocol that powers an ecosystem of communication and products and services, right? and that the incentives are not really there for like a for-profit company like that to actually decentralize in the way people want it to. So this is from Ari Paul. Twitter is a centralized for-profit company. That means that, like nearly all such entities, it becomes more closed over time, removing open APIs, etc., etc. Companies get acquired, taken private, etc. Just capitalism stuff. Anybody thinking this is a path to decentralization hasn't been paying attention. You have to look at basically anything Dorsey or Musk has ever touched, or almost any company ever. We won't get censorship resistance or freedom as a gift from a capitalist. We'll get it by building alternatives. So PayPal was initially pitched by Musk similar to Bitcoin. So Twitter was pitched as open and free social media by Jack Dorsey. Facebook's Zuck promised no fees on app devs, etc. Could this be the great exception? Possible, but probably not. Like, he's going to give it a 20-1 odds. So basically, it's not saying that the people are like bad people, they're liars or anything like that. It's just that's probably not what's going to happen based on how things have played out in the past. Even though lots of people are hopeful that, hey, we could see Elon come in and, buy up Twitter and make it more of a Web 3.0 product. Now, that being said, let's just say that it does happen. I think that like the easiest logical step towards something like that is definitely what we've been talking about on these live streams, which is basically taking parts of Twitter and making them, open source, like how we do algorithmic curation. There's lots of, problems with that, right? There's lots of problems on if some of you just know how the algorithm works, you could game the system. There's potential answers to those types of things. But that would be the easiest way to kind of move in the direction of Web 3.0. And it's not totally using a blockchain, but it's transparency, which is a value of Web 3.0. There's lots of things we can do with Web 3.0, that don't directly have blockchains related to them. It's just the whole paradigm of moving in a Web 3.0 direction. So, other easy ways I think we could see Web 3.0 integrated is if we can actually have things like NFTs integrated into Twitter directly, or basically, user accounts being controlled with digital identity of blockchain. That's a really easy way to do it. We can still have centralized components of Twitter. There's lots of low-hanging fruit that can provide benefits on top of there. We already have profile verification. Maybe there's a way where you could just sort of log in with Ethereum, you know what I mean? And maybe there's data still stored about you on Twitter, but then you sort of have this digital identity that you can kind of carry with you from network to network. We saw this yesterday. We're talking about, the Auth0 implementation for login with Twitter. So what if you could do that, right? What if we do that? Log with Ethereum. What if you do that on Twitter and now your Ethereum account actually becomes something that's valuable to use on other applications? And maybe, hopefully, that could transition to something where you retain more of your own data, more of your own privacy over time. Now, I don't think it's going to happen initially out of the gate with something like that. But those are some ways that I could easily see something like this, taking off, and very, very plausible use cases for that type of thing. All right, so that's the first big thing that everybody's fighting about. In terms of the Web 3.0 space, right? This is broader than Web 3.0, but lots of people inside here, they're just fighting about this. So let's talk about the next thing, all right, which yesterday we saw this sort of pop up, people starting to realize that the Ethereum 2.0 roadmap, the finish line is growing, all right? Now, if you've been watching this channel, I'll comment here in a second, but let's just pull this up. So Ethereum merge pushed to Q3 as final chapter of proof of work looms. Okay. So we're seeing news articles about this blow up everywhere on Twitter. People are fighting about this. People are arguing about this. What's going on here? Well, basically, somebody surfaced a thread, a Twitter reply from Tim Bako, who's, really instrumental in getting this effort off the ground, okay, part of the Ethereum core devs. So basically, this was a tweet reply from a couple days ago that somebody found and started surfacing it, saying basically hey, the merge for Ethereum 2.0 probably isn't going to happen in June, all right, but most likely a few months after. So now I'm seeing big accounts totally surprised by this, big crypto accounts, big crypto news outlets totally baffled by this. If you've been watching these live streams at all, or my videos, I've been saying for months now, I didn't think that we were going to merge in Q2 of 2022. I've said, hey, this is probably going to be months after that, okay? And so if you've been watching these streams, and you won't be surprised by this, but that's what everybody's fighting about today, or yesterday, I should say, and also still into today, just like with the Elon stuff. So, I mean, do I think this is a big deal? I really don't think it's a big deal, because if we're talking about something as massive as Ethereum 2.0, the merge, basically taking this second blockchain that we have over here where Ethereum 2.0 is getting built and merging it back into the live Ethereum 1.0 blockchain everybody's using today, then, you know, that's a huge effort with massive amount of risk, okay? There's billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars, you know, living on top of Ethereum 1.0, not to mention all the validators that are running Ethereum 2.0 right now and all the money that they have at stake. And so we're talking about like taking these two live environments and pushing them together. You want to make sure that stuff is totally solid before you do that type of thing. Because like technically that change could be rolled back, but if that were to happen, like there would be so much confidence lost in the Ethereum network, and also probably the ETH asset itself would likely take a massive hit if there was like a a whoopsie whenever the merge happens. So, we've seen lots of updates. I've been talking about them on this channel about how, basically, we saw a shadow fork happen successfully. We've seen test nets merge successfully. That's the kind of stuff you want to see. You want to see this slow incremental progress. The last thing you want to do is rush this thing out. So pushing this thing off a couple months is not a big deal in my opinion. I don't think it's like bearish for the ETH price. I don't think it's like a deal breaker in confidence for Ethereum 2.0. This was totally in my expectations. Just let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. Culture House says he wants ENS Twitter usernames. That could be pretty cool. Somebody says they don't like how Elon takes credit. Yep. Somebody says Planet of the Bored Apes. Yeah, we talked about that yesterday, the Bored Ape Yacht Club movie. Let's see here. The merge can cause so many downfalls if it's not done right. Yeah, totally. You want the merge to be 100%. And it's worth the time to wait to get it right rather than trying to rush that thing out the door. Somebody says Twitter is a bunch of LARPs that live at home and try to convince strangers that they're multimillionaires. That's awesome. All right, so let's look at lots of other things that have popped up in the space here. So, okay. So another thing that we saw yesterday is what's going on with this class action lawsuit with Uniswap. Okay, I don't know if y'all saw this, but this is pretty nuts. So a class action lawsuit accuses Uniswap Labs and its investors of allowing fraudulent activity on the DEX protocol. Okay, so a new class action lawsuit from a Uniswap user alleges that Uniswap Labs and its investors are culpable for her losses due to a failure to comply with securities laws. Okay, basically saying that there was no KYC, customer due diligence, and failure to register as a broker dealer with the Securities Exchange Commission, the SEC, and they allowed scammers to execute pump and dump schemes with the Uniswap protocol. So basically, they're saying that that her and others' loss of funds are the result of these actors, and accused Uniswap Labs of doing too little to root out their fraudulent activity. So this is going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. Because, of course, we're seeing Uniswap Labs fight this, but they're basically trying to say that Uniswap Labs and lots of people who are invested in Uniswap Labs now have to basically make this right and, settle this lawsuit. Basically, we're seeing lots of pressure on these decentralized protocols like Uniswap. So basically, there's big question marks in terms of crypto regulation, like who's responsible for this type of stuff. We're talking about a decentralized protocol that gets put out there and can't be changed, right? You put some smart contracts out that can't be changed, then what do you do to stop stuff? That's the whole idea of unstoppable applications. You can say, well, you can still hold the people who created it liable. Excuse me. And that's against Uniswap Labs in this case. But when you're talking about KYC and then basically trying to enforce KYC on something that already exists, how do you do that? Right? Of course, you could do that on the website, but people can still use Uniswap outside of the website. It's the whole point. It's a protocol that's built by smart contracts in the blockchain. It's open access. It's permissionless. There's all kinds of questions in terms of crypto regulation, are you supposed to have KYC for decentralized finance applications? There's a lot of great question marks right here. And it'll be interesting to see, the ruling on this case and how that potentially impacts that conversation in terms of regulating decentralized finance or DeFi going forward. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Is this going to be completely, it's just going to go nowhere? What do you think? Somebody says most likely this suit is brought by the SEC. Terms of service, user and risks, no grounds, point blank, period. Yeah, I can see that for sure. Someone says Web 4 is where it's at. Y'all catch up. Yeah, we're already leapfrogging past Web 3.0 to Web 4. That's right. All right, so let's take a quick look at the what's going on with the crypto markets. Let's see. Let's see here. So some interesting stats to watch out in terms of on-chain metrics for this space right now. So this is an interesting on-chain stat that I saw floating around yesterday. So only on 3 other occasions have we seen Bitcoin withdraw from exchanges at this rate. Okay. So if you look at the pace that Bitcoin is moving off of exchanges and you watch how far that dips down into this pace of levels, many times where that, basically every time that happened, we saw a pretty fast increase in the Bitcoin price after that, all right, and some forward momentum, okay? Now, I don't think this is like a deterministic type of thing, but it's an interesting data point to consider that was floating around. Now, I know lots of people are saying, hey, just move your box up a little bit, and then, you're going to get a lot of false positives. But it's still a compelling thing to watch about what could happen with the crypto price based on these on-chain analytics moving forward. So let's actually take a peek at what's going on with the crypto markets here. I mean, one thing that here's my feeling on the short-term price. Of course, long-term, nothing about my outlook has changed in terms of creating a technology that has real fundamental use case and that can generate demand for the tech. And as you have cryptocurrency integrating the technology, that the price of the cryptocurrencies can go up because of that demand. Okay, I think there's lots of stuff that we can look forward to in the roadmap. There's some clear stuff like the ETH 2.0 merge. If that happens in Q3, that's a bullish thing happen this year. More adoption. They'll say Elon buys Twitter and there's something Web 3.0 happens. I mean, that's definitely something to think about too. let's just take a look at the short-term outlook, which I don't really worry about too much, okay? But lots of people want to know what I think about it, so let's just talk about it. So, in terms of short-term stuff, like, I mean, it's very possible that we've had some time, right? We've had some time to consolidate and kind of slowly grind higher, and so if we can get some kind of good news, I would say, in terms of the macro scene, then I would say the sort of the base fundamental support for crypto pushing higher is there. Okay. Now that being said, I think that a lot of the headwind that crypto, because I mean, think about it this way, like crypto kind of looks like it wants to do that. It just looks like it's facing some headwind. All right. It looks like it's wanting to slowly grind higher. You can see us making, higher lows. It's just that every time we push up, it's just these tiny little weak, movements. Okay. And so one of the biggest reasons I think that's the case is what's going on with the macro scene, okay? And I really don't think that crypto is just going to blast off into infinity unless there's some massive catalyst while, everybody else is hurting, like while the stock market is still basically negative year to date, all right? While you're still seeing things like tech stocks just get bludgeoned. Right, I really don't think crypto is just going to decouple and then blast off while everybody else is just getting, spanked. Okay, unless there's some massive bullish catalyst, which there's good stuff on the horizon. It's just that we don't have the same sort of spark that like we did at the beginning of 2021. Okay, so like Nasdaq 100 still getting spanked. Negative year to date. We got to wait for some of this stuff to start getting a little more exciting before I think crypto gets exciting, unless crypto's got its own thing. So let me know what you think in the comment section. Well, that being said, long term, I've got a great outlook. But also the thing about the short term, the likelihood that crypto is just going to go into some ultra mega bear, right, crypto winter, I don't think that's going to happen. That's definitely not what I think is going to happen. I can always be wrong. It's not financial advice. I'm not going to make any financial decisions based on this. Okay. But yeah, I always think about these things in terms of likelihood. Like, do I think crypto is going to rip off to infinity? Like tomorrow, Bitcoin go to 100K tomorrow? It's possible. I don't think it's going to happen. Could crypto go into a nasty bear winter for the next couple of years? It's possible. I really don't think it's going to happen. Somebody says the winter is done, in my opinion. Everything's starting to come back slowly, at least trade back and forth. Somebody says they think the cycle has changed. And somebody says, yes, tax season's almost over. Yeah, I think tax season being over can be a good thing. There's lots of counter arguments for the tax thing. People say people do tax selling at the end of the previous year. Doesn't matter about April 15th. And lots of people do extensions on their taxes anyway. I mean, I still think the April 15th thing is a factor. I don't think it's the only reason we're seeing, short-term bearishness, but I think it's a factor. Charles says, but Burry says, that's right. We'll put it this way. I mean, Michael Burry is undoubtedly a sharp dude. I think what happens sometimes is people have a certain bias that when it's right, it's really right. But he's also been wrong about a lot of stuff. So it's sort of the whole idea of like a broken clock's right twice a day. mean, that being said, there's huge respect for sure. But there's also some disagreement, right? Like, it's pretty epic how right he was about what happened in 2008. Somebody says, yeah, unless using military time. Well, at least once a day. Somebody says, any thoughts on ERC721R? I haven't looked into it enough. I've seen lots of people talking about it. Basically, these are like refundable NFTs. Let's just pull it up. Or the anti-rug pull. The anti-rug pull NFT. So let's pull it up here. I don't see a good explanation of it. A good easy explanation. I see one in a different language that I can't read. Let's see here. All right, so we'll just say there's a tweet from Crypto Fighters, the Crypto Fighters Alliance. Because actually, it's interesting. Crypto Fighters is a super early NFT project. It was literally I think it was literally the first interview video that I did on my channel. If you want to find an Easter egg and go like sort my YouTube videos by like created at date and find the first like videos ever, like I started doing interview videos pretty shortly after I started my channel, and I actually had Ellie from Crypto Fighters on the channel to talk about what they were building. So if you want to see the infancy of like one of the literally first NFT projects ever to launch on Ethereum, like that was it. It was pretty crazy. So anyways, the new ERC721R standard, we plan on bringing accountability and trust back into the NFT space. We'll be releasing more information soon. Stay tuned. You might miss the biggest evolutions in the NFT scene. So it's a wrapper interface for the ERC721 standard that supports NFT refunds within 45 days after mint. So the Crypto Fighters Alliance NFTs are developed using this interface. So the interface is developed and maintained by the Crypto Fighters team. So I don't have a ton of thoughts on this. I mean, I could see potential ways that the system could be gamed if you had refundable NFTs. It'll be interesting to see what happens if people actually just do an NFT drop. Like, the easiest way to find out what's going to happen is just do a drop with the ERC721R standard and see what happens, and then take the learnings from that and see if it's a good idea for other NFTs going forward. It just seems like there could be a potential way to game that. If I buy a bunch of NFTs and then I can just refund them. So somebody says they have a trouble installing their dependencies for the boot camp. So definitely send out an email to Gregory@dappuniversity.com and we'll get you taken care of. All right, everybody. That's all I got for today. As always, smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. That really helps these videos out so that more people learn about blockchain. And if you're as fascinated with this technology as I am, if you want to get your hands dirty, how can you get started today? Well, you can go to my YouTube homepage. You can find my free courses there. They're like Udemy courses, but they're totally free. And if you like those and you want to take the next step, or hey, maybe you want to take a master shortcut entirely, I can show you how to become a blockchain master step-by-step start to finish over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. You don't have to be an expert to get started today. I've helped people with zero coding experience become real world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. And until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.